You know, when we were growing up, there was that trope in every movie, Mighty Ducks and I mean everything. Mighty Ducks, everything. Of like
Knuckle
the
baby.
yes, no, the tomboy girl, right? The whole concept of like feminism through, you know what, all the things that men do and that make men valuable to society and like attractive, the ability to acquire all these skills and worldliness and all these inspiring qualities and stuff. Well, you know what, women can do that too, and you know what, we should find that attractive. And I agree. Like that's the thing that I think is like most attractive is like when women are self-sufficient and independent and emotionally stable and all that shit. But I feel like men never really culturally, we never really learn to demand those things. I feel like Myron's book, Why Women Deserve Less, the concept could be reworked into a title that I would agree with, which is like why men should demand more. Like instead of just having a fucking pretty like or something like that, and why that is the thing that we're most attracted to. Maybe we should be demanding more sigmas.
So, you mean like in terms of like demanding that women are a little bit more self-sufficient or independent, or?
Yeah, sure. And interesting.
So here's a phenomenon that I've noticed. I don't talk about this much because this actually might sound really red-pilled. But here's a phenomenon that I've noticed, okay? I have actually, no, this won't be red-pilled. This will be nice and purple-pilled, okay? I have a very aggressive personality. Like for however much you want to make fun of how I look or whatever my personality is very masculine. I'm very aggressive. I'm very domineering in conversations. I'm very confident. Like I have like my own going on. I've got a high degree of like stoicism. I've got a high degree of emotional stability. Like that's like my type of personality. And my engagements with people tend to also match that. Like a very aggressive tone, very like jokey bantering or whatever. Like that tends to be like my communication style and the way that I carry myself. Something I've noticed is, so I also say that I have a preference for like aggressive women, right? Something I've noticed is that if you pair a man that is less type A, alpha, whatever the f I say it, if you pair a man that's a bit more on the submissive side with a woman that's highly aggressive, that pairing is usually not that good. I think the woman tends to be a bit unsatisfied. The man tends to be a bit like simpy and maybe lacks self-confidence in that relationship. And it's just not like a good pairing of kind of like a not very confident man with a very aggressive type woman.
However, the reverse is kind of expected.
Well, even more so, if you pair an aggressive man with an aggressive woman, something I've noticed that women, so there are women that both me and either Melina or other people I notice will associate with, that when they associate with said woman, it's a very aggressive, that woman has like a very dominating personality, very type A, blah, blah, blah. But then when I associate it with that person, they actually tend to chill out quite a bit. And I actually probably do as well to some extent. That when you pair two equally aggressive people off with each other, as long as the man has a certain level of masculinity or aggression or whatever, usually the woman will kind of like calm down. Now, I don't mean calm down in like they'll behave type way, but more just that when you're meeting people that are on your level of like aggression or masculinity, there's actually a lot of room where both people feel a little bit more comfortable or confident or secure in that pairing. So I think that the problem is when you say like men should demand more, the issue is I don't know if a lot of men have the confidence or personality or aggression to deal with, unironically, to deal with a woman that is of a certain level of aggression or confidence or esteem. That's why a lot of these guys are like, I want to go to a third world country and get another bride there, is because they genuinely are looking for somebody that's just like submissive and easier for them to control, essentially. Yeah.
Slave. It's so tired, but I do think it all comes down to emotional security. A lot of these predilections on dating.
Have you heard of spiral dynamics?
About dating, It is like I feel like it seems simplistic, but I feel like it can pretty easily be boiled down to just like existential fear of loneliness and fucking unworthiness and shit like that, and wanting to satisfy those. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, sure. I could believe
and that's what makes the most toxic relationships. Holy shit. Or toxic dynamics, like the entire concept of jealousy, I think is like kind of rooted in that. But
some of it can be, yeah. It's hard to tell like where do insecurities stop and where does like legitimate like barriers or boundaries begin, right? Because some people like Vosh, for instance, would be like all monogamy is just like self-esteem issues, which is probably not fair. But yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, obviously some other considerations. I feel like the biggest problem with internet takes is like nobody's capable of multivariate analysis. Nobody's like, everything has to boil down to one reductive element or something like that. Like obviously if you're poly, there are really good reasons for being upset about your partner choosing, another partner over a different partner, right? Like partner C over partner D. If partner C is going to be bringing like meth into the house or something like that.
Yeah.
Or other problems or something like that. But yeah, I do agree fundamentally that I think the biggest reason for, or probably the main driving force behind like monogamy is the fear of somebody moving on to a bigger, better thing, and like the insecurity that can cause.
That's
Fear of
probably a
being
big
left
driving
alone.
part of it, but it's hard. It's really hard to say. I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard to say. I don't know.
I don't think it's that hard. I think
I
it's
mean, like,
pretty
it sounds
simple.
pretty to say that, like, the big driving force behind monogamy is people are worried that their partner's going to upgrade, and they're insecure because they view their partners worse if other people, like, mess with them because they think they can't stack up to it, right? That seems kind of, like, I'm sure there are
It
people that
doesn't
are...
feel good, but do you really think that that's? I mean,
There
like,
must be people
honestly,
out
tell me.
there that are really confident in themselves and everything that just want to be monogamous. Like, I doubt that, like, every very confident person is like, oh, I'm going to do open relationships because I don't care. That certainly that can't be the case, I would imagine.
It doesn't. Well, what do you mean? Certainly. I mean, like, you can have all the confidence in the world. It still feels bad to have somebody show you that you're not as good as option B.
Yeah, but is that really? Do you think that's what all monogamy stems from? Is that people
Well,
are
if you're going to
worried
set
that,
the goalpost to all, then of course not. But I think
or that
the
you think it's a
overwhelming
big
majority-
driving force of a lot of monogamy?
I think it's probably the biggest, but that's just based on feels or whatever.
Damn, hot take.
I mean, what do you think it is?
I don't think about it much because I feel like any answer I find there is going to be unsatisfying.
All right. Well, you can poke holes all day, but
That's
as soon
what
as
I
it
just
comes
did.
turn
I
to-
did poke holes. Yeah.
Come on.
It might be, but I don't. It's like people just get mad when you even begin to analyze like that. So yeah, I don't know.